Hello, welcome to session 5 of Unit 5. We are still talking about the demand and supply elasticities and their applications. In this very session, we are going to talk about income elasticity of demand. Among the variables that affect demand, income is often one of the most important variables. As income grows, how will the demand for a particular good change? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves and get answers to. And the answer depends on the income elasticity of demand for the good. That is the concept we will discuss in this particular session. So note that analogous to the own price elasticity of demand, we can also compute an income elasticity of demand. By the end of this session, we believe that you should be able to define income elasticity of demand, and you should be able to compute the coefficients for it when given relevant data and distinguish between normal good and inferior goods. In the previous session, we looked about substitutes and complementary goods. Here we are going to talk about normal goods and inferior goods. So let's start with the concept of income elasticity of demand. We examine the response of the quantity demanded of the good to changes in consumer incomes. And when we are doing that, the coefficient of income elasticity of demand, that is EY, the Y stands for the disposable income, is determined by the formula that we have here. We have percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in income. So we will represent the income by Y. We already know that percentage change in quantity demand is going to be change in Q over Q naught, right? Then we will divide by change in Y over what's Y naught. This would change to become change in Q over change in Y times Y naught over Q naught. But we are going to use the arc income elasticity. So here we are going to use the average given two different incomes or income levels. So the arc elasticity of demand or arc income elasticity is a technique for calculating the income elasticity between two income levels. So we are going to look at that as we did for the own price. So when we are using two income levels, it means we have two different quantities. So we have the change is Q2 minus Q1, and we find the average for this. We divide by the change in the two incomes and the average of the incomes. This will end up giving us Q2 minus Q1 divided by Y2 minus Y1 multiplied by Y2 plus Y1 over Q2 plus Q1, where the Q2 is the quantity demanded after income change, the Q1 is the quantity demanded before income change. The Y2 is going to be the new income level, and the Y1 will be the original income level. So let's take an example. So assume there is an increase in disposable income in Ghana land from say 1 billion Ghana cedis. Ghana cedis 1 billion to 1.1 billion Ghana cedis, and is associated with an increase in both sales in the country from 5,000 units to 6,000 units. We want to determine the income elasticity over this range. So we will substitute this information into the formula we have here. We are using the arc income elasticity. So we are going to have EY equal to 6,000 minus 5,000 divided by 1.10 minus say 1.0 times 1.10 plus 1 over 6,000 plus 5,000. When you use your calculator and do some simplification, you realize you're going to have 1,000 over 0.1 multiplied by 2.1 over 11,000, which gives us 1.91. So we will say 1% increase in income would be expected to result in 1.91 increase in quantity demanded, all things being equal. So recall that this calculation assumes that all other factors influencing quantity demand or demanded have remained unchanged. And this warning applies to all elasticity calculation. We will talk about how to interpret the income elasticity of demand. Now, the income elasticity of demand measures how far the demand curve shifts horizontally when income changes. When an income rise shifts the demand curve to the left, the income elasticity of demand is negative. So you have to put that in mind. And the income elasticity of a demand is positive when the demand curve shifts to the right due to income rise. We have talked about this in other sessions. So we want to talk about inferior goods and then the normal goods. Goods whose demand responds positively to increases in income. They respond positively, as I've typed here, positively to increases in income. They are called normal or superior goods. And most classes of luxury goods or and expenditures on health and child children education are in this category, the normal good and superior goods. How about the inferior good? An inferior good has a negative income elasticity of demand. Say cassava may be cited as an inferior good. It is inferior substitute for other carbohydrates in the consumer's budget. As income levels rise, consumers can afford yam and rice, and thus will make baby say cassava an inferior good. This brings us to the end of this session, and gradually we are ending the units. We are left with only one session, that is session 6, which talks about price elasticity of supply to complete this particular unit. Until then, I will say thank you. See you in session 6.